Hey everyone. Hopefully you're killing it in the markets. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value, and I'm looking for investment opportunities wherever I can find them. If that interests you, click subscribe. I'm looking at the housing market. I know some people were talking about forbearances. We got a lot of YouTube channels. They're talking about crashes and all sorts of doom. I am nowhere near the spectrum that they're at. I'm probably if they're down, I'm up. If they're up, I'm down. If they're left, I'm right. And if they're right, I'm left. So I'm opposite of them. I think we have a very strong market. I was reading an article. I put some of the article, I quoted some of these things from the article about the housing market and real estate market. There was some information in there that I thought was pertinent to the housing market, and I agreed with the article. They had some data on the forbearances and some projections of how many homes could potentially come on the market from that forbearance ending. So let's jump into the housing market. Remember, the housing market is important, or the real estate market, because it drives inflation, and it's one of the drivers. I mean, they're printing money like heck everywhere and just handing checks out. So that's going to be inflationary as well. But historically, the driver's been an expansionary phase of real estate drives inflation. And when inflation gets driven, interest rates go up, and it causes a rotation of money and investments. That's why the housing market is one of the most important markets to understand, because it affects all the investments that are out there, assets. It basically prices assets and determines money flows. So let's jump into the housing market and the presentation I've got. So we're going to jump right in. We have higher lending standards today. Back when we had the crash in the mid-2000s, early 2000s, when they were making all these loans, we had loose lending standards that brought down the last housing market bust. They were very, very loose. Nothing even close to what we have today. Today, down payments and lending standards are in much better shape and is now more robust and safe than it was 15 years ago. And it's not even close, guys. The credit scores are far higher. The down payments are far higher. Everything is far, far better than what it was in the early 2000s when they were making these loans. So forbearance, this is the data that they had in the article. ATTOM Data Solutions expects at least 200,000 defaults in 2021. And 200,000 defaults is like nothing. I mean, that is nothing compared to the last crash. And they're going to increase 70% in increase in foreclosures over the subsequent 2 years, which is still incredibly low. 70%, I mean, if it's 50%, that'd be a little over 300,000 defaults the next 2 years. So we could have 1 million homes, 800,000 to be exact, roughly 800, 900,000, come on in 3 years. And I don't think it's going to be tough for the housing market to absorb that. That's my opinion. A significant increase from current levels, but a far cry from the 6 million foreclosures following the 2007 crash. 6 million. That was the last crash. Equity. So we're talking about equity that these people have in the house. Equity is the difference between the current market value and the amount you owe. That's your equity. Homeowners have large home equity as prices rise. It's an incentive to not lose the home or foreclose on it. In the third quarter 2020, the average family with a mortgage had $194,000 in home equity. And it's far higher right now with prices. So it's probably $215 to $230. 2009, a quarter of the nation's mortgages homes valued less than the amount their owners actually owed on the mortgage. A quarter of the nation's mortgages valued less in 2009. That is insane. And that's why they all foreclosed. They said, they had no equity in the house. Price growth. Depleted supplies of homes, which is inventories, show real estate going higher. It is projected that home price growth will slow but not stop increasing. Most project home prices to increase between 3 and 8%. It won't be anything like the crash in the late 2000s, is what they project. And this is the moving target here. While no one can say for sure what will happen with real estate sector, most experts are confident that we'll experience a market dip, but certainly not a crash. That is their opinion of the article. Now, I'm a little bit more bullish than they are. What I like to see is I monitor the inventory. If the inventory increases over time, then I start to see it sinks into me. It's hard for me to read numbers and then project what the market's necessarily going to do. So these guys, they're just projecting things. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to play out exactly like they think. And I'm a bull still. Structurally, I think we're going higher. I think the rates will slow some. I don't think we're going to be tearing it up at 20-something% increases in some of these cities. I think it'll slow down, probably into single-digit increases at some point, maybe with the forbearance going on. And then I think it's going to increase again if we can't build the homes that people want. So if we continue with very low inventory, and even if these forbearances come on, if the inventory is still low, prices will still be very robust. So I think that the structural bull market in real estate is going to remain intact. I don't think this is going to get blown out. I don't think we're going to have a crash. We could have a slowdown in the price increase, or maybe even like a little dip. That's fine. But I don't think we're going to have a market crash, because structurally we need to build some homes. If you guys like this content, give me a thumbs up. Thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.